Hey, what's up you guys? It's Texmer talking to you here, and today I want to do some performance tests to my M1 Max MacBook Pro. In this video, I will do a ton of performance tests, just like gaming, video editing, photo editing, 3D modeling, and all of that stuff. Even Safari speeds, Chrome speeds, and everything you can expect in terms of performance from this MacBook Pro. In the beginning of this video, I will tell you that this is a M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch with a 32 GPU core M1 Max and 32 GB of RAM. It has 1 TB of storage and it has the fastest SSDs in the game with about 5000 megabytes per second of write and read speeds. So it's very fast. This is one of the most powerful M1 Maxes out there. The only difference and the only thing that is not maxed out is the RAM, because I don't really need the extra 32 GB of RAM. Though I will also do some performance tests on Parallels desktop, where I will show you SolidWorks. In this type of tests, it will run on 2 translation layers, which is from x86 to ARM and from Windows to macOS. So again, if you are excited for this performance test, don't forget to drop a like down below and to subscribe to my channel. But let's get started. For the first performance test, I will try to run some benchmarks on this computer. As you can see, in the first benchmark, which was Geekbench 5, we got 1733 points for single core and 12,830 for multi-core. This is great scores for the CPU test on Geekbench 5. Then we go into the GPU test. Of course, I will do my GPU test again on Geekbench 5. Here it's a Metal optimized GPU test. Of course, you can go for an OpenCL. Let's run them both. And in Metal, this MacBook Pro 16-inch with the M1 Max chip with 32 GB of RAM and 32 GPU, of course, gets 68,505 points, which is pretty great actually. Not the best, but I do believe that you can squeeze a little bit more performance from this test from just trying to optimize it to Apple Silicon and the M1 Max chip. Right now, I'm not sure if the Geekbench 5 is always optimized, but in this test, I got this. And if you go into OpenCL and you run some tests too, you will find out that it runs a little bit slower and it has a little bit less of a score, but it's still very good and much better when compared to the Intel machines. So again, in terms of performance and raw performance of this chip, according to Geekbench 5, this is one of the most powerful computers out there and certainly the most powerful MacBook Pro out there. So for Geekbench 5, that's the Stitch. But what about Cinebench? Cinebench runs more of the CPU and picks up the CPU to a level that is more of a continuous types of performance than small bursts like Geekbench 5. So in Cinebench R5, we got 1,562 points on single core test, and on multi-core we got an outstanding 12,373 points for multi-core. So this is incredible. It's the 4th most powerful CPU in terms of multi-core, only behind the Threadripper 19 from AMD, which is a stupidly high 16-core CPU, a 24-core CPU, which is an Intel Xeon, and a 32-core CPU from AMD Threadripper 299. So again, this is very powerful machine. It scores 2. It's the same about as the other M1 Maxes. Mine scored a little bit higher than usual, but it can dethrone i9. It dethrones Ryzen 7. So it's a very powerful CPU. For its money, it's a 10-core CPU, 8 high-performance cores, 2 high-efficiency cores. Of course, if you try to run this CPU very hot for several hours, this MacBook Pro is very efficient, and so it doesn't run that hot. For example, if you want to do several tasks like video editing, Logic Pro, or even DaVinci Resolve, this computer handles it like a champ. And of course, it doesn't turn up the fans to the max volume like other Intel machines did and like other Windows computers do. This computer runs very silent. It's a silent killer, like I like to call it. And so the performance is just incredible, but it's also very quiet, and the battery life is also incredible too. And it can do all of this out of the battery alone. Doesn't need to be plugged into the wall. Of course, if you do all of these performance tests all the time, or you have a very powerful like workflow, then you will need to plug your computer a little bit more often than you would thought to if you're only used to using an M1 Mac or even using this computer in a lower RPM range. But again, this is a computer made to be turned up to the max, so this computer works very well there and it behaves very well in the maximum levels of performance. So let's get out of these CPU tests and GPU tests and this theoretical stuff, and let's get into practical stuff. And for the first test, let's just test out the speeds of the Safari. Then, of course, after we test out Safari, we should go into Chrome. Chrome, it's a bit different than Safari, it's not as well optimized, and so let's run a browser test here too to see if there's any differences between these two browsers. But I always really recommend you to use Safari when using a MacBook Pro, because it's way more efficient when caching out on RAM. The Google Chrome app uses tons and tons of RAM, especially if you open a lot of tabs together and at the same time. Your computer will suffer, even if it has 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM. If you turn like 1,000 Google Chrome tabs, your computer is completely dead. So again, if you want my recommendation, you should use Safari, and of course, Safari is more optimized for macOS because it's an Apple optimized app and an Apple made in-house app. So between these two optimized types of browsers, I will recommend you using Safari. So let's go into Safari for the first performance test. Let's open Safari and we have here your speedometer and test. Let's open it and let's see. Start test. This is my first test for the Safari and let's see how it does. Then we will have Google Chrome for you and to compare which are the fastest, the Safari or even Google Chrome. So let's sit, let's wait and let's roll this test. So the test has finished and as you can see, it's a 276 score. It's very, very high. For example, you have a scale 0 to 140. This almost breaks the scale and it's very, very fast. Let's try to open details here. You can see it's stupidly fast and it's a very, very good score and it's very, very good. It's on the 3.3%, one of the fastest computers to ever do these tests. So I'm very happy with this Safari test. But let's jump into Chrome and to see how it does perform there. We are now in Chrome and let's go into that website and to try to test my computer. Let's open it and let's start my test on this website. Let's see how Chrome does on this test on the browser. Speedometer test. So we got 276, which is about the same result in the margin of error from the Safari, and this is crazy. So we got about the same result on Chrome as on Safari, although Chrome is not as optimized and so uses a lot more RAM. But again, the two score the same, so if I were which one is the fastest, they're all the same. They run the fastest and one of the fastest browser experiences out there. But if you want to use, and you ask me ultimately which is the better browser to use on macOS, I will tell you that this Safari uses less RAM. But if you want to use Chrome because a YouTube experience on Chrome is better, use Chrome. There's no issue using it, and as you can see in this test, it's as fast as Safari. Then let's go into video editing performance tests. Of course, I will use Final Cut Pro, although I've used DaVinci Resolve in the past. I do believe that Final Cut Pro is the best video editing app for these MacBook Pros and for other Apple products. Of course, this Final Cut Pro was made by Apple, so it's way more optimized. It has ProRes support, it has H.265, H.264, HVAC support, and this MacBook Pro has encoders for all of that. So when working on Final Cut, everything feels like smooth, utterly smooth, and everything is very fast. It's very fast when exporting, and I will do a test here exporting one of my old videos, and you will see how fast it is exporting a 4K 60 video. It's just insane. So we are in Final Cut now, and I have my latest video here. You can check it out on my channel. It's about the M1 Max, iMac Pro, and the foldable iPhone. It's about 14 minutes long, and it's a 4K 60 project, as you can see here. And it's right here on my timeline, so you don't realize I'm lying. It's all here, it's edited, and it's done. It's a 4K 60 video, and let's see how it goes when exporting this video. I will do a test on automatic mode, which is the mode that this computer is right now, just for you not to, if you don't believe me, this is on automatic mode on battery, and I can change it to high efficiency and high powerful mode. So I will do it afterwards. So let's do the first export test for this video. Let's click it and let's start this first export test, and let's see how long it takes to export this project. Next, it's about 14 gigabytes, and let's do it. So, as you can see, the export is finished. It took about 9 minutes to finish, and a 14-minute video taking about 9 minutes to finish is pretty cool. But let's now turn on high power mode. On the definitions, let's close. Let's turn on high power mode on battery settings, high power mode, and let's do a back-to-back export with this time high power mode enabled. So with high power mode turned on, let's export this video and see how fast it is. Well, it's done. The high power mode export test is done, and we got an interesting result. The time, 10 minutes. Wait, wasn't the normal mode 9 minutes? Yes, it was. So, as you can see, the high power mode doesn't do any type of difference when exporting these types of footage. Maybe in a higher, heavier type of footage, because this is H.264, but if you were exporting, for example, ProRes, or even trying to export raw RAW files and other types of big files, maybe high efficient mode makes a difference. MKBHD talked about that, but in my experience, as you saw here in first hand, it doesn't make any type of difference, and so I cannot recommend you spending more money just for this high performance mode. Then let's go into the photo editing tasks. Of course, I will use Affinity Photo. I don't have Photoshop, I don't like Photoshop, and I do love Affinity Photo. I will load a very powerful image on Affinity Photo, and I will try to edit it and try to show you some things you can do with it, how fast it is applying effects and stuff, and oh my god, how fast it is just exporting these types of footage. It's very, very fast, very, very efficient, and it can't hear like the fans at all. It's very, very good in terms of video editing and photo editing, and overall this computer, in terms of performing by these video editing apps, even music using Logic, or even using optimized apps for the Apple Silicon and ARM transistors, this computer is very, very efficient and very, very powerful too. Like, its encoders for H.265 and even ProRes are just ridiculously insane. Imagine having a separate computer to edit your videos while you are doing other stuff. Like, you can be exporting a video and encoding or even transcoding footage and just using Safari and watching YouTube at the same time, because you have two computers doing two different types of jobs. It's just insane. It's very, very cool to have. If you are a video editor or a photo editor, I totally recommend these MacBook Pros. I don't code, I don't use Xcode, and I'm not a programmer, but I've heard that programming on these MacBook Pros is also a very good experience because it's a beauty. It's very, very fast, it can handle a lot of stuff, it has a ton of RAM, and the CPU is very, very powerful, which when programming, that's the most intense and the most hard-working chip on the computer is the CPU. So, we are here in Affinity Photo, and I have here an 8K image. It's a raw file, and it's very big. It's actually 12,000 by 6,302. It's 75.62 megapixels. It's RGB, all of that stuff. You can see it's actually very detailed Fortnite image. You can zoom out very, very far. You still got tons of detail, and this computer can zoom out and zoom in, load the image very, very fast. No trouble there. It's very, very fast. You can load any types of details. See almost every pixel of this image, and then zoom back again, and the image loads just fine. No issues there, no types of trouble. You can go into contrast, bright, apply some darker filters, like for example turn up the brightness, turn down the brightness, turn up the brightness, turn down the contrast, or even do the other thing, turn down the contrast, turn down the brightness, and then you can just apply some effects, some stupid effects that it might not look like very impressive, but when you consider that this is just ridiculous, for example, invert U, and then you can just move things around, and the real time, like, oh, look at this image, completely different, and in real time, you can do all of this stuff, and while doing it, you can just zoom in, see every types of pixels, no trouble, and this image, it's very, very fast, and even when exporting, let's see, archive, export, and when exporting these types of images, which is huge, let's export it on PNG, all file, and let's export it. just almost instance, like exporting item, like 5, 6, 7 seconds, 8 seconds. It's very, very fast, stupidly fast. And this computer for photo editing is one of the best. If you want to use Photoshop, it's almost the same. Affinity Photo is better optimized, and for Apple Silicon, Affinity Photo is better. But if you want to use Adobe's Photoshop, it's also great. It works very well, very fluid. I cannot recommend this computer enough to photo edit. Then let's try to do something funny. Let's try to game on this Mac. And to game, I will test out one game, which is one of the most heaviest games of 2016-2017, GTA 5. GTA 5 will run on Crossover, which is a wine type of app. It creates a bottle where you put your Windows machine and you run your games. I have GTA 5 running on this computer, and I will show you that it works very, very well. The only thing that I don't like is the fact that it's not that goodly optimized for the Apple Silicon computer and even for the keyboard and mouse. But again, I will show you this GTA 5 running seamlessly and like at least at 60 FPS completely fine on this computer. And GTA 5 is still a very heavy game in today's world. So we are in GTA 5, and as you can see, we are playing GTA 5 on a MacBook Pro. This is through Crossover, like I told you, and now let's just jump into this game to see how it performs. My opinion, it goes smoothly at 60 frames per second because this GPU is quite powerful and this is an older type of game. But as you can see, this is a complete GTA 5. So as you can see, very playable, and we are now on the waiting menu trying to load story mode. So when we are in, I'll let you know. So we are in GTA 5 now, and as you can see, plays very well. It's not on max settings, I don't believe so. So if I want to up the settings, let's go into settings and let's see, graphics. It's full screen resolution, it's 2K, 60 frames per second, and VSync is off and everything else is off. Advanced graphics. It's not the best and the most powerful one, but if I turn on all of this, maybe it will look better. But let's see. And the game seems to run fine. Now this guy's calling me. What an asshole. So hiving up, and you can see it plays very well. Let's just enter the car and move around a bit just to show you how well it plays. It's 4K and moves around pretty easily. Doesn't need any type of problem. Brake, just run, jump. Whoa, jump the car in the water. Then it works very well. This is GTA 5. Of course, you can this is funny. Of course, it works very well underwater even. So you can see it works extremely well. It's very fast. Although this is a Mac, and a Mac for gaming, it's kind of not the best thing. You can game on a Mac certainly, but this is GTA 5. I can see a very specific test I'm running on the M1 Max MacBook Pro with 32 GPU cores, so this should be peanut butter smooth. But again, this is a GTA 5 game, so it's from 2015-2014, so it's not the fastest and most demanding game right now, but it works very well. And let me tell you, like, if you want to game sometimes and casually, this MacBook is just fine. The only thing that this thing lacks is support from developers, so it's not the most supported device, but I mean, it works very fine, like I told you, and you can see it runs well. This guy, Franklin, is running very fine, and if you want to just punch a guy that is standing by the water, you can just try to punch him. Like, can I punch you, sir? Yeah, okay, now he's in the water. Like, it's fun. This is a fun game. You can do tons of stuff. You know GTA 5, it's the usual. So, this is gaming on the MacBook Pro. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments down below. And also, don't forget to tell me which games are you playing on the MacBook Pro, or do you have any recommendations for me to play some games on this MacBook? Then, let's go into one of my favorite tests, which is 3D modeling. In this computer, I love to 3D model. Like, I 3D model a lot. It's one of my classes in my university, and I have to 3D model on SolidWorks. So what I did was I installed a Windows virtual machine via Parallels Desktop. Here in Parallels Desktop 17, I installed Windows 11 beta version. Windows 11 is not that great. If I want a very quick review about Windows 11, it tries to be more like macOS, but it fails in very critical issues, and I do think it's still Windows. It still has all of the problems from Windows 10, and although it's a more refined and a better introduction and more UI and different type of UI when compared to Windows 10, it still has one of the biggest, most annoying update issues ever. Somehow this computer just updates all of a sudden, and you were working and all of a sudden it starts updating and you lose your freaking work, and it's very annoying. I hate Windows because of that. I've lost tons and tons of works and pages just because of this feature, and I don't like it. I hate it a lot, and please Microsoft, fix this. But turning back into my performance tests, I installed SolidWorks in this computer, and be aware that this virtual machine is the business plan. So it has limited my machine to 8 CPU cores and to 16 gigabytes of RAM. So it's not the most powerful machine it can be, because I don't want to pay for a pro user type of life, because I don't need my 10 CPU cores all of a sudden, and I don't need my 32 gigabytes of RAM. So this will be like a half-cut performance. It will have probably six high performance cores and only 2 high efficiency cores, but I don't think this computer is still fast using SolidWorks. So take a look and let's start this performance test. To finish these tests, let's now go into Windows 11. I'm right now on Performace 5. You can see this is Windows 11. This is the beta version. Obviously, I have everything hidden because I don't need to, but let's go into SolidWorks. Let's open it and let's do tests on SolidWorks, because it's the thing I use the most. Yes, I want to activate my product now. Why isn't the thing? Why isn't opening? Well, I don't care. So why? So this is my SolidWorks, and you can see, let's start the test. He's telling me to check my system. It's not the perfect and the bestest thing, because this is running 2 layers of translation, and as you know, 2 layers is a lot. 1 layer is enough, and some computers just completely crash using 1 layer of translation. But this is translating inside of Windows, is translating macOS to Windows, because this has a virtual machine, and inside of Windows is translating ARM to an x86, because SolidWorks is not an ARM app or an ARM application, and so needs to translate to an ARM software, because this is Windows 11 for ARMs, because my computer has an ARM chip, as you know. So let's go into a part. I mean, I could open up something I did before, but just try to draw something like sketch. Choose a plane. Let's choose a front plane and draw a line, a small line, like so. And you can see triangle, and let's connect all of them. So you have a face. You can extrude, of course. Open, extrude. I don't know, maybe extrude a little bit more. For example, I can extrude this one and this one. Let's make it like so, and it's done. So you can see now we have a pretty fun thing. And if you want to draw again, you just click sketch, sketch, and if you want to draw, I don't know, maybe a circle and make it quite fun. For example, 1 2 1 2 1 2, and then of course you want to extrude something out of this. You can do all of them. Select, and you want to, I don't know, maybe 20 millimeters. You can see that it works very well. 120. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it a bit further. So it shows you, like, done, completely done. You can see that we have now a very strange device. It could be, I don't know, maybe a thing to put your rings, or a thing to store some, I don't know, onion rings. It's funny. It works very well. You can see, you click control. I can move it around. I can rotate it. It works very well. No lag. So completely fine. When assembling stuff, it also works very, very fine. Let's like say this is a part. Now let's create a new part. Okay, a new part. Creating a new part, and in this new part, let's sketch again on the top plane. Let's say we want to have, I don't know, maybe 2 circles, like 1 circle here, and let's find 1 circle. Let's just features, extrude. Let's extrude it just a tiny bit more, because I do want a bigger circle. Maybe like that. That's fine. Now you can see that we have a type of cylindrical form. I don't know, maybe. Now let's do some new, and make assembly from part, save and insert. Now you don't save or you save it, I don't care, you just save, it will create an assembly, and then you can choose browse and choose the older part. For example, I can put, I don't know, maybe let's just save the other one that I was working on, maybe part 1. Let's open it, and here we are in part 1. Oops, not it. Let's cancel it. Let's close. Let's open part 2. Is it this one? You can see opens documents very, very fast. No issue there. So let's go back to my initial. Oh, we're having some kind of trouble here. So let's close this one. Yep, this is not working that as I wish. So we are back in the beginning of the part. You can see we have our part, and right now it's a part, of course, and it looks very fine. You can move it around. Like I was telling you about the assemble, you can open up your assembly, and when you open your assembly, it's thinking, and because this is a layer translation, it's a kind of you have to be used to this type of stuff. It's not the fastest computer to do it. It's not inside of the 10% of the fastest computers to use these types of programs, but it's around the 55% mark. Like, it's more powerful than most computers. It's more than average, so it's good enough. I don't need it 100% to do this. Is not my job, but it's for university and something that it needs to do very well. This is the other part. Having some trouble loading the assembly because I don't know, maybe it's too much something open, but this is the part you can see works very well. And like I told you, I draw some stuff, open it around, and if I want to close it, I just click right here and it will ask me to save, or even close all windows and it will ask me to save too. So this was a SolidWorks tutorial, and you can see it's thinking a bit. That's normal. This computer is not perfect, like I told you, 3D rendering and 3D drawing on SolidWorks, just because it's a 2-layer translation. It has some problems still, but if it was native, like maybe AutoCAD, or even if you try to use AutoFusion, Autodesk, it works even better and even faster. So this is to 3D model one of the best, not the best machines if you are doing it natively, and if you can, and if you only need to use Windows types of programs like SolidWorks, it works extremely good for the type of translation that it's doing. So again, I totally recommend this computer to do these types of works. You don't need to be afraid of it. You want to use this computer only for using SolidWorks, I would not recommend this specifically because it's very expensive and you can get a more powerful SolidWorks machine. But for doing SolidWorks casually and using other types of programs, then this machine is just perfect, and I cannot recommend this enough. Finally, these performance tests are over, and I can tell you, this computer is just insane. The battery life is good. I had to charge it middle because this is stupidly insane, and these are very stress performing tests. The main test that drained the most amount of battery was playing games. Of course, my Apple Silicon is not optimized to play games, and even macOS, because the support for games is just bad. GTA 5 is not supported in macOS, it's a Windows only game. Then if you want to try play Fortnite, you can, because Epic Games still hasn't ported Fortnite to macOS. Then, of course, you have the performance issues if you want to play games on virtual machines. Because if you want to use Parallels Desktop to game, you have to be in mind that you will pay a lot per month if you want to use the full capacity of your computer, and even so, you have 2 layers of translation on top of this game. So if you are using crossover, you only have 1. If you are using virtual machines like Parallels Desktop, you have 2. ARM to x86 and macOS to Windows. So don't forget and have that in mind. Playing games, GTA 5 especially on a virtual machine, is a way worse experience when compared to playing on crossover, although it drains a lot of battery, these 2 options. My virtual machines like Parallels Desktop was the second most draining task on this computer because it drained a lot of percentages just because of the 2-layer translation. It takes a lot of a toll on this battery life, and you can certainly see and notice when you are using this computer. It's normally at 100% when I start editing or using 3D modeling, and then at the end of the task it's around 60 to 70%. So in about 1 hour it lost 30%, which is not normal for this computer. Make in mind that this computer, when you are video editing and a very ProRes footage like this footage right here, it will take around 10 to 50% for 2 to 3 hours. So it's more than half the percent saved by just using ARM Apple Silicon apps and not using a virtual machine. But again, this computer is a winner on these performance tests, and I couldn't be more happy. I paid $3,500 or 3,500 euros, and I'm telling you that it's way worth it, the price. It's very well performing, performs very, very well. It goes through these tasks like butter. It performs them like 5-star performance on this computer, and I can tell you that I'm very happy with it. I love the hardware, love the display, love the battery life, love the trackpad, love the keyboard, love the new I/O, the new ports. I use them all, and I have to tell you, I'm very excited to continue to use this computer. The one thing that I've not tested yet is a real camera footage like Apple ProRes from a Canon R5 or even a Sony Kodak. I like to try these types of footage, but right now I don't have access to those types of cameras. But if you like my videos with the iPhone camera, let me know in the comments down below. But again, I'm trying to save to buy my external and only camera, which is trying to be a Fujifilm X-T200. But this was the performance test for the MacBook Pro, and I can tell you that I'm very happy with it. It went very, very well. And if you want my honest opinion, if you are a video editor and a photo editor, there's no better machine than the new MacBook Pros. They are mobile, they are very fast, and they are very, very powerful. So again, if I want to recommend this computer to someone, would be a video editor or a photo editor. If there's someone that I wouldn't recommend this computer, is to gamers. If you are a gamer, don't buy this computer. Or are you considering buying this MacBook Pro to game? Don't. Even if you are buying this MacBook Pro for something else and you are considering, oh, I should play some games and I'll be able to play some games, because that's your second thoughts, like I want to do work stuff, but I also want to play games. I continue not to recommend the macOS. The only way you should think to play games is, I need this computer to do specific tasks on my work, like video edit, photo edit, 3D modeling, on other stuff. And then, if you want to play games, because you are very, very bored, you can. It's not the best experience, you will have a lot of workarounds, but you can game on the M1 Max MacBook Pro. Is it the best experience? No, it isn't. You can install Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is one of the onlyest games to ever support ARM and macOS and Apple Silicon that looks good and it works very fine. It's very fast in these computers, don't get me wrong, but the MacBook Pros were not made for gaming, and so I'm not recommending you if you are a gamer or you intend to game on these MacBook Pros. But that was it for these performance tests. What are your thoughts on these performance tests, and did you like it, did you not like it? In my opinion, this went smoothly. All the performance tests went very, very well, and even when putting the full load on this computer, it handled it just fine. I never saw that little ball, that beach ball that you normally see on Intel Macs. This computer is just insane, and I almost never heard the fans, only when going full throttle at the maximum performance on high power mode. Yes, because there are two modes on this computer, high power mode and efficiency mode or normal mode. On automatic, and this computer goes fine, you never hear the fans. If you turn on high performance mode, then you will start to hear your fans if you are exporting a video, but the computer is like almost 2 times faster. Joking, not 2 times faster, but it's faster than it usually is. So it turns up the maximum performance of the M1 Max and just forgets about battery life and efficiency. But what are your thoughts on this computer? Don't forget to let them know in the comments down below, and while you're there, don't forget to leave a like, to subscribe to my channel, and follow my social networks, Twitter and Instagram. Thank you all. This was Summer talking to you here. Bye.